grade scientist, Ms. Cross here, and today I'm going to give you a little bit more information that will help us as we work on our learning target of developing a model that describes the roles of organisms in a community. And the organisms we're going to be thinking about are producers, consumers, and decomposers. And I know that we've looked at a lot of pictures, we've read an article, so we should have some pretty good ideas about these organisms in our minds, but I wanted to give you just a little bit more to work with before you work on your model. So go ahead and have your science journal out, because there's a few things that I'm going to ask you to write down, and your teacher might choose to pause the video and have you share some of those with your class. Okay, here we go. So I want you to think for a second and write down in your journal, what did you eat for dinner last night? Hopefully you can remember what you had for dinner last night. Just write it down in your journal, whatever it is. Okay, now I want you to look at this picture, and I want you to write down in your journal the answer to this question. What did this organism have for dinner last night? This tree, what did the tree have for dinner? Okay, what about this organism? Write down what you think this fox might have had for dinner last night. All right, and finally, these are mushrooms. Wild mushrooms. You might also be or have heard them called fungus. What do you think they ate for dinner last night? Okay, friends, energy is the strength that an organism needs to survive. Organisms, any kind of living thing, needs energy to move, breathe, and grow. And each of these organisms, the tree, the fox, and the fungus, obtains energy in a different way. Now, they might not all eat dinner like you did, but they get their energy. Okay, here's a little bit of vocabulary. An organism is a living thing, anything that's alive, okay? Energy is the strength that living things or organisms need to survive, and energy allows the organism to breathe, grow, change, and move. Now, you might also hear the word roll, R-O-L-E, not R-O-L-L, like rolling the dice. This kind of role is a job, okay? And organisms have roles. They have jobs in their environments, and we're going to learn more about this even next week. Now, community. You might have heard of your community like Lowburn, or the people that live in your neighborhood. Some of you might have a church community or a softball community. This is just a group of interacting species that live in a common location. So we're going to think of communities in terms of plants and animals that are living together. Okay, so producers, we've heard this word some this week, and we're supposed to be drawing a model of it. So I wanted to give you a little bit more information. Producers are living things that make their own food using sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide to make sugars, okay? These organisms, such as plants, trees, vegetables, and algae, use the sugars that they're able to create for energy to grow and survive. Now, producers are very important because they provide energy for all of the other living things in a food chain. And I just have a few pictures here, starting from the left. That is seaweed. There's grass, there is a bush with some berries on it, and there is that tree again. So these are all producers. They make their own food using sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide. Okay, consumers. Consumers are organisms that cannot make their own food. So consumers have to eat other plants or other animals in order to get energy that they need to survive, to move, and to grow, and to change. People, bears, fish, and birds are examples of consumers. So here's just a few pictures. There's a little girl, just like you all, a little kid consumers, your parents are consumers, the fox, the bear, and even that fish. Okay, decomposers. This might be one you're not as familiar with. Decomposers are organisms that can break down dead organisms to get energy. So they're taking dead matter and using that to create energy. They return nutrients from decaying plants and animals back into the soil. You learned a little bit about that in science in 3rd grade. But this process helps to create really rich soil that supports new plant growth for new producers. So we're going to see next week really how this is a cycle. All of these things working together, each of the organisms doing their role. But here are a few pictures. On the left we have more mushrooms or fungus. In the middle we have earthworms. These are one of my favorite creatures. They are so cool and do such amazing things for soil. And then on the far right, that is a picture of bacteria. Now bacteria is teeny, 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 tiny. So that is actually under a microscope for us to see what that looks like. Okay, so today you are going to work on developing your model, drawing your model on the roles of producers, consumers, and decomposers in an ecosystem. Now, you can use these slides. You can use the article we read yesterday. You can use any notes you've taken, anything you have to work on your model. Now, be sure you use pictures. Be sure you use labels. You can draw. You could cut things out of a magazine. You could find pictures online, whatever works for you, okay? And your teacher is going to set up a Flipgrid for you to record yourself showing your model and describing your model so that we can see your work and your classmates can see your work. So be sure you have producers, consumers, and decomposers with some labels and some awesome pictures, okay? We want you to be creative and have fun. We cannot wait to see your Flipgrid. Awesome job today, friends. See you back for more science tomorrow.